So the key to virality would be memes then.
I would say the key to virality is pain points. And so if you make all your content around pain points, you have a way better chance of going viral. And memes are a fantastic way to pull on pain points.
So Aiden, thank you for joining us today for the podcast episode. We want to talk about memes, and it's been a journey for us to implement memes as part of our strategy. Certainly has been a journey for me to accept that as like a legit and effective content form for Vista Social, the B2B brand. I've always kind of viewed memes as sort of a funny GIFs and something that maybe creators would do sort of in the freedoms that they have with their own personal brands. But I'd love to introduce our listeners to how memes are an effective content form, the fact that brands should not sort of stay away from, maybe talk about even certain expectations that audiences have for a certain amount of relatable, funny content to be present within any brand's social. Maybe talk about some maybe fears and reservations bigger brands have with this. Any risks maybe that could be, kind of associated with this. So yeah, I'd love to hear more about memes and kind of your experience with them, how you make them.
Yeah.
Before you answer that question, I just need to get your vote. Is it GIFs or GIFs?
GIF.
Okay.
GIFs.
All right.
Yeah, I made an effort.
You did.
I was gonna say GIFs, but then I remember
I don't really,
GIFs.
Yeah, I would say GIFs. It's like niche. What do you say?
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, I like to always give this stat. There's a study that Oracle did on humor, which is like at the root of memes, right? Memes are just a very effective way to convey humor. And it's 90% of consumers remember ads that are funny, yet only 18% of business leaders say they use humor in their ads. There's a humongous gap there, right? Like there's signal that it resonates with consumers like humor does. Mm-hmm. And there's only a small percentage of business owners actually implementing that humor. So that's where I like to come in with No Boring Brands and help like brands like Vista Social inject a little bit of humor and wit into their brands. And there's like a huge delineation, like in some of the biggest pushback we get is we don't want our brand to become a joke, right? You guys run a serious business. And it's like, if you don't do the necessary research before creating this funny content, then you run the risk of becoming a joke. But if you truly understand who you're targeting, you can use humor to convey intelligence and wit. And that's very effective in selling and building trust.
Obviously, meme as a term exists, and I feel like today everybody's using it all the time, right?
Yeah.
Can you define that? What is meme? Is this just sort of anything that's funny? Or because I've seen all sorts of meme formats. I've seen like cartoonish sort of animations. I've seen portions of maybe movies or scenes from movies layered with some text on top. I've seen you like personally recording them. Like what are memes?
Yeah, so my personal definition of a meme is a viral piece of content that can be consumed, understood, and shared within like 15 seconds. And it primarily lends itself towards like famous movie scenes or TV scenes or using celebrities' likenesses or funny event at the Met Gala. I also throw in like tweets. Like tweets can be memes, like a funny tweet. I even put that in the category of a meme. Where I draw the line between like memes and like UGC is when there's an original creator shooting it with their phone and they're making that content for the first time. Where it then turns into a meme is if, Reggie, you make a video, you put text on it and it's a hilarious video. I take that video and put new text on it and like remix a little bit, then I see that becoming a meme. So it's a very hard thing to like label.
Sure.
But I just think meme, I think quick, viral, and then it's like a stream of consciousness across people. Like if I reference like the Kevin James meme, you might understand what I'm talking about, or like Homer Simpson ducking behind the bush.
So GIFs are also memes then?
Yeah. I would just say GIFs are probably the like 2015 version of memes. Like it's like memes have evolved into now a way bigger thing. Like GIFs started it, I would say, for sure.
Wow. So you run No Boring Brands, which works with I mean, B2B companies, software companies, like ClickUp, Vista Social, another social media company that I'm not going to mention.
Yeah.
I probably should. But like, take us back. How did this start? Like, where was the idea? Hey, I want to make memes for companies.
So when I was a freshman in college is when COVID hit, and I had so much time on my hands because school was fully remote and it was super easy. And like I've told this story before, but there's only so much FIFA and beer you can drink. And I was like, I need to do something. So I started applying to startups, and I was 18. Startups would see me. They're like, oh, you're young, run our socials. And so I started experimenting, and I worked at this like vegan super food bar company that was like super small, team of 10. You could eat the wrapper. It was like biodegradable, crazy. And I was just making memes for them. And I think we had an audience of 50,000. So it was like a pretty big audience.
Yeah.
I've worked with bigger audiences now, but at the time that was a ginormous audience, and I got to play around with it. Quickly that snowballed into working at media companies. I worked at a sports media company called Overtime, just creating content about Lamar Jackson and the Ravens and why we're better than the Chiefs. But and then took that even a step further to working full-time at a media startup before my senior year of college. And so I worked full-time at this startup called Workweek all of my senior year of college. And there I was helping scale a brand called the Marketing Millennials, which our whole funnel was memes. And we grew that audience to 1.1 million followers while I was there, from like a little over 250,000 to 1.1 in 2 years. And the whole funnel was memes. That's how we got people to subscribe to the newsletter, and the newsletter is how we made money.
But I think in that case, though, that's mostly younger, like you said, millennials, right?
Yep.
Is there age sort of requirement to this? Do you think that like, so I'm in my 40s, but let's say somebody in their 50s or somebody in their 60s, do you think they're just as, because obviously people respond to humor, but humor comes in different sort of art forms.
Yep.
Like, and this is like one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I was certainly on the fence for a while, and maybe still am to some extent, purely as an art form with memes. I get the joke, but the form sometimes kind of like, is there any sort of age kind of demographic to this, or do you think it's more broad appeal wise?
Definitely there's an age part of it. And the way we typically solve for this is, right, like let's just say for y'all, like Vista Social, I would say social media management and social media managers is one of those roles where it actually skews like female a little bit.
Yeah.
And I would say the types of templates we use there, it's probably younger women is like the core demographic potentially. So we'd use like Mean Girls templates, or like maybe Kim K, things that are recognizable to that person. Whereas we worked with Palo Alto Networks, and they're targeting CTOs. And like the typical CTO is a 65-year-old dude, lives in the United States.
Likes to golf.
Like he doesn't know, like he's not as interested in Kim K.
Sure.
But like if we can identify a figure in that person's life and bring that through and make it into a meme.
I'm just curious for an example. What would that for?
Let's see. Like honestly, Bernie Sanders. Like if we use like Bernie Sanders, like like he has there's an iconic Bernie Sanders like template where it's like I'm once again asking you for, and then insert, like you can insert whatever you want. So like that type of template is how we bridge the gap there, for sure.
So in these conversations, right? Like that's a great example. Palo Alto, what did you call it?
Palo Alto Networks.
Network. So in cases like that, right, where we're talking about targeting CTOs, how do you get buy-in to say, hey, you know, you might be thinking this is just for Gen Z or millennials? I mean, millennials are a little bit older than you might be thinking, Vitaly. I'm a millennial.
How much freedom? Yeah. So I guess to paraphrase this, how much freedom do you have? I know that in our case, you pretty much have complete freedom, right? So because I think you understand our recipe, but like, do you get a lot of sort of pushback or a lot of reviews, or even maybe sort of redactions, or like, do you get like how comfortable are brands that you work with, and how comfortable should they be with this kind of stuff? Should they pass it through legal?
Yeah.
You know?
Like Palo Alto Networks is unique. They're a $100 billion company, and like they're a legacy brand. So an engagement with them is so much different. First of all, it took me a year to close them. Like, and I just annoyed the crap out of Jackie, who's their VP of social media. I just followed up relentlessly until I was like, just like, give me a shot. Like, this is going to work. And obviously their legal team is incredibly robust. and they're very risk averse because when it comes to social media, like they almost have more to lose than to gain because they're already their business is humming, they're growing, very well known. So for them, we typically stay away from like using celebrity likenesses, like famous movie scenes and everything, because like that does expose them to a little bit of risk potentially. They're a big target. So we just come up with memes from our own creative. Like you can use ChatGPT. We also use tweet style memes where we make fake tweets that are funny and everything. But for, the typical brand, there is, I don't want to say controlled chaos when it comes to what type of like freedom we have. I have like 3 things that I always avoid in all of our content, which typically keeps us safe as far as like not getting canceled or ruining their brand image. And that's never punching down on anyone that can't defend themselves, right? That's how you come off as like a jerk. And like people will be like, oh, you're the big guy going after the little guy. That's lame. We avoid politics and we avoid religion. And that I do that like in my own content, but also with all of our clients. And when I'm selling them too, I say like, we are not going to touch any of this. So if we do touch it, it's going to be like dipping our toes in it, like the Bernie Sanders meme. Like we're using that potentially, like he's a political figure, but
the content in itself is
not political.
That's cool.
Yeah,
That's cool. Do you get any pushback? Well, I guess I'm just thinking through the fact that like most marketing content will fit within some sort of funnel. You're either producing top of funnel, middle, or bottom funnel content. First, where does this kind of fit? Can it fit in multiple layers here, or is it mainly top of funnel content?
It's definitely top of funnel. Yeah. My service that I provide, and like we don't try and sell anyone to be anything we're not. Like we're top of funnel awareness, generate organic impressions, help you reach more of your ICP organically on social media. But like, and this is maybe something down the line that I could like build some systems and processes out to offer this, is like salesmen and women using memes as a way for cold outbound or anything like that. Like that crushes. I know anytime I've gotten a meme in my LinkedIn DMs, I've like at least looked at the meme and like respect. Like you definitely took some time and made that. So that's a way to make it a little bit more middle and bottom of funnel impact, but it's a different offer and different service, but still same like art form.
And how is that performing? I know that I remember that one meme where we're in the same boat meme.
Yep,
that you did.
It was a clip from, I think the show is Top Gear. I think it might be Top Gear, but it's a boat where he's trying to hold a boat up a mountain, and it's a British guy, so of course it makes it more dramatic and it's funnier. And he's like trying to hold a boat up, and then he just lets go of it, and it tumbles down the mountain, like blows up. It's like a mess. And so we made this meme for Vista Social like maybe 4 or 5 months ago, and we put the scenario. It's a very common corporate trope of like we're all in the same boat, we're all in this together. We put a funny spin on that. And the boat is crashing down the mountain, which is incredibly realistic. And what we're doing is like we're trying to create this moment where when people see that, they're like, wait, how did they know? Like my boss just said that in our meeting today, and that's how I feel. Like, do they have a camera in my room? Like, how do they know I'm experiencing this? That's the impact we're trying to have with like all of our clients' ICP when they see the brand and the content on the timeline.
Yeah, so that was the moment when I became aware of the impact memes can have, because I think that one did like 5 million views. So which is just even incredible is not gonna like define how it felt, because it's just such an outlier compared to everything else. But that was kind of like the awakening moment for me to kind of understand that. And while it's totally top of funnel, clearly it was just sort of big sort of awareness kind of a thing, but just to see 5 million views, it blew my mind in so many different ways. It's just 5 million views on a meme, sort of a joke or a funny take on something, and I don't think any social content can rival that. Have you seen like other content not coming from an overly influential Instagram account reaching that type of viewership unless it's a meme,
or at least humorous in some nature, right?
Yeah, it's hard. Like honestly, like memes and like it is the most efficient way to reach mass amounts of people. And like there is one content format that in like 2018, 2019, 2020, when TikTok first started taking off, it was huge. And that was like talking head green screen videos. So you have like someone who's smart in front of a camera there's a green screen and they're talking about like, oh, here's how Nike funneled like and got grandmas to sell out their newest shoe release, and they're breaking down the campaign. That format kind of died down from like 2021 to 2024. People weren't doing green screen as much. It was very oversaturated. That's actually kind of flipped on its head now, and people are going back to talking head style green screen videos as far as breakdowns. It's like the 2025 version of Twitter threads. Like Twitter threads in 2021 were humongous, thought leadership moves. Now, if you look at people like Brian Bloom on Instagram, he's one of the smartest marketers that I've ever met, and his content is just very actionable, tangible. He's an influencer, and he does all talking head style videos of like, here's how Olipop, here's their funnel, like boom, 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 boom. That type of content is like the only content I'd say right now that rivals memes. Just it's really, I don't want to say overhead intensive, but to make one of those videos is substantially,
Right.
You have to script it. You have to have someone who's really good on camera. You have to have a really good editor. And like to do those at scale is harder.
So the key to virality would be memes then.
I would say the key to virality is pain points. And so if you make all your content around pain points, you have a way better chance of going viral. And memes are a fantastic way to pull on pain points.
Pain points of things that your product or brand addresses.
Yeah. So like for Vista Social, instead of making the memes all about Vista Social, we make memes about your ICP's life without Vista
And
Social.
their problems, right?
And their problems. And what it does, like, yes, it's going to get them to prompt and like send it in their group Slack and like, be like, this is hilarious. Look at this brand. It also like communicates to your ICP that like, guys, like we legitimately understand the pain you're feeling. Like, so trust us when we're selling you this new product feature, it will solve your problems. As we've shown, we know your problems, and you can see it through all of our content.
They feel seen,
Yeah.
validated.
How easy are they to create? Is this something, how scalable is the meme strategy?
They are, as far as time put in for potential ROI, probably the most efficient form of content to make. It gets harder to make memes in the more niche the industry and unfamiliar, like me and my team are with the industry for sure. Like I am a marketer. I've worked in social media for 5-6 years. Like I can make a ton of social media based memes. It's just what I live and breathe. But for like Palo Alto networks, memes that CTOs will find funny, like that takes way longer to make. It's way harder.
But I guess you can never make everybody's happy about a meme, I would imagine, right? It's just like with jokes, any joke, right? I will tell the joke and, some people will get it, some people are not going to get it, right? So I think, and memes being so sort of obnoxiously kind of in your face, that probably splits us even further. What would you say? Half of the people in any company?
Well, it's
like I would certainly say like for our stuff, that I don't agree with every meme, but I've sort of distanced myself from even being a judge effectively because it's humor.
You're not technically the buyer though. You know what I mean? Like in the case of like our software or Palo Alto Networks, if the meme is created and researched to be relevant to the customer and the pain point that customer feels, then it theoretically should be funny or at least relatable to anybody who watches it that it is in those shoes, right?
Yeah. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that like there's no need to get consensus from everybody
like
in the organization, right? Because there'll never be a consensus on the meme.
Yeah, it's like, okay, so you're thinking for internal, like a
Yeah, whether they're gonna like, because
Yeah.
you're doing memes, right? And the customer has to be happy, but in reality, like you're not gonna get like all 50 people happy because they're not all gonna get the joke or the aesthetic or the presentation or the movie or the reference, whatever is involved.
Yeah, it's like the classic like concept where it's like this new like go to market lacks a singular vision. Like that's like something marketers experience from leadership. It's like it lacks a singular vision. The reason it lacks a singular vision is because you have 54 people working on one thing and there's 54 different visions. It's impossible to get consensus. Like, but we try to, because when we're working with clients, like we want them to be just as excited about the content as we are.
Sure.
Yeah, it was this kind of the situation that I remember being in, is that I've looked and I was introduced to the concept of meme at some point last year, and but certainly it was kind of edgy for me, which isn't like I understand like in a space in a world of social, memes aren't edgy. Memes existed; they've existed with GIFs, and we all know that Jiffy, the site, have existed for like a decade, right? So it's not a new art form, but for me, it kind of felt in a B2B kind of in a business scenario was sort of. But then the undeniable truth is that 5 million views are real, right? So and that's kind of the point when I started to kind of accept the reality of it, even though I don't agree, or perhaps don't quite understand, some of the humorous elements to this. But I don't understand every joke my kids make either. So, but I can totally see that they get it.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately the more important part.
And that's one of the reasons why I'm like I like working with B2B is B2B is typically, I would say, like 2 to 3 years behind like B2C and D2C and CPG.
It's being generous.
Like they're, if that, as far as like, especially on social media, they're usually light years behind. And so I'm taking like the Duolingos of the world, Starbucks, Wendy's, they've been on this wave of humor since like 2017, 2018. Wow. Like, and we're taking that playbook and kind of like trimming off the fat a little bit. It's not going to be the whole marketing motion, but it's going to be a part of it because it's really worked for them. And I'm trying to bring that to B2B brands more so.
And how valuable do you think that top of funnel content, top of funnel performance, so all those potential millions of views, right? Because one of the arguments I can see sort of a marketing team make is that, yes, our content maybe is not performing in a viral way, but at least it's the right eyeballs, right, on our content. So here we are potentially getting, millions of views, right, on content, but it's not ICP. How do you sort of explain the value to your clients, right, of those millions of eyeballs that are not ICP?
So we try to counteract that as best as possible. Like with paid, obviously you can build a customer persona and target that type of persona. With organic, you can't. You just kind of have to like, the traditional thought is you kind of have to pray it reaches the right people. But we have this thesis that if you make the content niche enough so that the only people that can understand it are your ICP, then you can ensure that the views and the likes and the shares are your ICP. So that's what we like to do. And our definition of viral is like different than what I would say like typical consumer would say, oh, that's viral. They're like, oh, 1 million views. Now for y'all in your instance with that one video, 5 million views, like there's a lot of social media managers out there and and agencies, and like there honestly is probably, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 million potential buyers for your product. For some industries like Palo Alto Networks, there might only be like 200,000. So viral for them is way different than viral for Vista Social. Viral for them, if we get a post with 10,000 views, like we're reaching 5% of the market. That's huge. Wow. So that's usually how I frame the impact. And also one of the reasons why we work with just B2B brands is B2B versus D2C and CPG, typically like they're more profitable and they have funnels that work already. And this is an experimental opportunity to bring more top of funnel awareness that has tons of waterfall effects, right? Like building community, maybe they want to turn that into events. Events are huge. You get your sales team out there. So there's a bunch of ways we take it, but that's why we've like locked in on B2B SaaS companies primarily, is because we've been able to benefit them the most.
Do you see different social platforms sort of behaving differently when memes are posted? Are some social networks perhaps a little bit more accepting of them, and maybe are there social networks where it's not a good idea to post memes?
Yeah, I would say
LinkedIn.
Yeah, like I would say for some reason I have never been able to crack TikTok at the scale I'd like to crack it at. Like with Instagram and Facebook, like we've done 96 million views in a month across like multiple accounts. TikTok, it's like it's always eluding me. I haven't found a way to create viral, consistent TikTok content at the size I want it to. So that's one, like typically they just are very rigorous with their like content approvals. And so if you're using like a remixed piece of content, which a lot of memes are, they might flag it or shadow ban it. Instagram and Facebook are excellent for memes. Like that's a workhorse.
How about LinkedIn?
LinkedIn it's kind of going through a phase. Like I would say 2022, 2023, like memes were absolutely killer. But now LinkedIn's introduced a little bit of a video feed, and then it's still trying to find its identity. Like there's a lot of thought leadership video content now, and memes don't stick out as much on the timeline as they do because now there's this video feed. So still impactful because the shock value that memes have on LinkedIn is still very high. So the likelihood that you'll stick and people will remember that is high.
But you adjust though, let's say an Instagram meme versus a LinkedIn meme.
Totally.
Considering the professional nature of the LinkedIn.
Like we definitely stray a little bit more. If we're going to be edgy, we're going to be edgier on Instagram and Facebook. Okay. And we do mostly video on LinkedIn and on Instagram and Facebook. And we do mostly static on LinkedIn. So static memes on LinkedIn, video on Instagram and Facebook.
And you haven't mentioned like Blue Sky and Threads. Does it mean that you're not a believer?
I'm not a believer. I'm not a believer in Blue Sky. I'm not a believer in Threads. It's just like I think they're trying to do what Twitter did. And so my philosophy is if you only do what other people have done, the furthest you can get is where they've been. And so like I don't see them overtaking Twitter.
And Twitter?
Twitter, it's interesting. I don't create any content for any of my clients on Twitter. I see the best content on there is written content. So for memes, we don't do too much written like style memes. And like I can send you guys an example of a written style meme and we can pop it up here so people can see what I'm referencing.
I understand.
Our primary are YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn.
Awesome.
If a marketer were to come up to you and say, hey, like I'm trying to pitch this to my VP or maybe even a marketer at an agency, we're trying to pitch more of these to our clients, what's the top couple of things you could say that really ultimately will convince the stakeholders to be okay with testing this out?
Usually I just ask them, I'm like, is what you're doing right now working? And they're like, they're either like, we're doing nothing with organic, so no. Or they're like, sure. And I'm like, all right, that's not convincing. There is the occasional, like they were already excellent at top of funnel content before I even started working with them. But we don't work with them right now anymore. But last summer when we worked with them, they were already excellent. So they're the rare case, but most B2B brands, like their organic on social is very weak. So I kind of just let them realize the problem. I know we talked about this maybe even before we turned on the cameras, like the delineation like between making your brand become a joke and the ability to convey intelligence through humor. We always lean towards conveying intelligence through humor and signaling understanding. And usually that gets buy-in from.
Yeah, I think humor is undeniably probably the most powerful marketing tactic. And I totally agree with you that. And we even have like a podcast on this when we talked about humor being so effective and so unutilized. So thank you for taking us through memes and memes as a strategy, memes as a tool, memes as something that perhaps is sort of underutilized and underappreciated and maybe kind of like understood by brands as something that sort of belongs in these sort of corners of social media that are sort of not as sort of professional or not as business oriented. We've certainly have learned to appreciate it and see its effects. And best of luck, I guess, with your projects, and hopefully we'll have many more viral sort of successes.
Heck yeah!
And we'll definitely include our viral piece in this sort of episode, just kind of showcase that both in terms of how well it performed, but also like in terms of just the sheer uniqueness of the humorous approach and how it could be sort of accepted by some and maybe misunderstood by others, and that's totally normal. And that's kind of the name of the game with memes.
For sure.
Awesome.
Thank you for the 5 million views. We're very grateful.
Let's go. More to come.
If you guys are listening or watching, you want to check out some amazing stuff, No Boring Brands, we'll link it out in the show notes as well.
Awesome.
Thanks, Aiden.
Thank you both.